Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Soulslayer in the marriage subreddit. The post is titled, "I am completely heartbroken." So, my husband just told me he booked a flight to go golfing in a few weeks with his best friends. He never once talked to me about the dates or his plans before he booked. We have been together for almost 21 years and married for 15 next week. My husband just spent 5 days away over Labor Day while I stayed behind with our 13-year-old. He has never done anything like this before. For context, he is incredibly frugal. We have not gone away for even a night in years, even with the kids. I wanted to get Disney tickets this summer, but he said no. No matter what I spend, he always has an issue with it. Every time I go grocery shopping, he almost always complains about how much I spend, even though it is well within the budget. The last time we went out to eat was in November 2023 with our 13-year-old. I've asked so many times to go out to dinner or do something together, but we never do. Recently, during an argument, I brought it up again, and he said that he doesn't like going out to eat, so why would he do it? He suggested that I should consider the time we spend on the weekends cleaning the house and doing yard work as quality time together. I don't work and have no friends or family. I feel this is the final straw. I feel neglected, but he insists that's not the case. He has an unhealthy relationship with money and is always stressing over it. We don't struggle financially and live comfortably, but he was laid off years ago and took 9 months to find work. Since then, he has become overly fixated on money. Our oldest daughter is 24, and she says he has caused her so much anxiety about finances that she is always worried about running out of money. He stresses about spending $5 to rent a movie and is bothered that I want to pay for a movie service that costs $8 a month. Money is such a huge issue in our marriage. He always claims we are broke. The kids have been exposed to this environment, and it's unhealthy for them to worry about finances. When our oldest was in middle and high school, she suffered from drug-resistant depression and had a failed attempt. Her counselor even told him then to stop talking about money, but he couldn't. We have not had a date night in years. He has attempted a few. My birthday was last month and we were going to go out, but we ended up shopping and working on a Halloween project together instead, which I was fine with. However, these attempts are few and far between. Our 13-year-old has had anxiety and depression since COVID. She is incredibly smart but has no drive or ambition, misses too much school, never does homework, and lies about her homework, making it an absolute nightmare to deal with the stress. I never get a break from it. He typically works 60 hours a week, so most of that burden falls on me. The stress caused me to lose 20 pounds last May just trying to ensure she passed 7th grade. I have voiced my concerns and even wrote him a 13-page letter last spring about how I needed more from him. He even said he wouldn't want his daughters to have a husband like himself in their life and would have a real problem if our oldest was marrying someone who had done some of the things he has done to me. He is not physically abusive in any way, but has said some hurtful things out of spite over the years, which he knows were wrong. I feel like I need to show my girls a good example, and I'm unsure how I can do that by staying married to him. He has continued to ignore most of my needs for quality time and a chance to check out occasionally. My heart is breaking into a million pieces right now. I just asked him to leave, and I'm not sure I made the right decision. User Frishan said, "You kicked him out. That's good. You're finally thinking of yourself. You already told him several times and even wrote him a 13-page letter, but he still did not listen to you. You did the right thing because you do not have a partner right now who is supportive and helping you navigate married life. He is a selfish man and you need to do what's best for you." User Vegetable Oil said, "Woman to woman, get a job. Empowerment comes from financial independence. Imagine being able to pay for your own expenses and fund your own trips. Your husband wouldn't have to work 60-hour weeks and you both would have more time and money to spend on going out. Being a housewife is fine when you marry someone ultra rich, but even then, you're still exposed to controlling partners." User Alternative Prior said, "Take a deep breath. You have made the right decision. It probably should have been done earlier. Your poor older daughter is suffering from anxiety about money. I'm all for living within your means, but we also work to afford pleasure. He can find the money to enjoy himself, but he has no interest in sharing any joy or fun with you. That's not a marriage, you're basically a nanny. Are you not working? Why wouldn't you have a job? Then you could get out from under his control. As a lifelong working woman, no one controls my money, ever. I think it would be very good for your 13-year-old to see you working as well. I would recommend seeing a lawyer now. Find out where you stand on the financials, custody, visitation, and child support. That'll shake him up. Try to get a job, broaden your horizons, and socialize. You are doing the right thing for yourself and your children. Update. My husband booked a vacation for himself behind my back after we had discussed the trip and decided not to go. He told me days later that he had booked it anyway. My husband was supposed to come home to help with hurricane prep. He was only supposed to help and stay that night, but as things got more serious, he stayed because I needed help preparing the house and yard for the storm. We talked about evacuating and booked a hotel about 3 hours away, but as the storm shifted south, we decided to stay put. He stayed during the storm and afterward. We ended up doing a lot of talking, but he would not cancel the trip. I told him he should be begging for my forgiveness, but it felt like I was the one fighting for this marriage. He had that trip 2 months ago where he went alone, had no responsibilities, and had a lot of fun. He just wanted to feel that way again. I told him that if he didn't cancel the trip, the marriage would be over. I told him he can't have his cake and eat it too. I would never be able to get away with doing something like this, nor would I try. I don't understand why this trip is so important to him. He has been love bombing me and promising that he would change and start treating me to vacations and date nights. There have been some issues in the past that I forgave, but he feels like I still can't forgive him for them. I don't understand why he would add to the problem. It hurts when you love someone so much, and they hurt you like this. I don't want my marriage to be over, but he literally told me he would put me first after his trip. Why can't I be a stronger person and realize that there is someone out there who will cherish me and love me the way I deserve? My daughter sent him a text explaining her feelings and basically told him he chose this trip over his family. He left on Friday and comes home today. All of his stuff is packed up and in his truck. Most of it he packed himself on Friday before the trip. He even missed his flight while trying to convince me that I was making a bigger deal out of this than it needed to be. I texted his brothers, sister-in-law, and the friend he is visiting, basically saying we are over and explaining the circumstances leading to it. I also explained the history of how he has spent so little time on date nights and didn't do anything for our 15th anniversary almost a month ago. He told me no one took his side, which I told him would be the case. No one in our lives would treat their spouse like this, so now I'm torn about whether to let him stay tonight or not. Heartache sucks. User Live Okra said he had the money for a solo vacation. He can cough up the money for a hotel. Don't let him stay. He's going to continue to try to love bomb you and confuse you. Cut the cord and let him go. He made his choice. Let him deal with the consequences. User Impassionate God said that man is cheating and you can't convince me otherwise. Don't let him in. User Neat Pen said, don't let him stay. Think of it this way. If your marriage is going to survive, you need to learn that you are just as important as he is. He doesn't get to do whatever he wants, knowing he's hurting you without consequences. It could be that kicking him out will drive home how serious you are, and he will turn himself around and make tangible changes. But you won't know unless you do that. You need to show him that if he isn't going to choose you, then you will. Make him feel the aftermath of his selfishness. Don't let his feelings have more weight than yours. Every action has a reaction, whether good or bad. Don't let him avoid the outcome of his choice. This wasn't a mistake. This was a conscious decision he made, one that he had plenty of time to think about, and he still chose to do it. It is also possible that he will never see your side or admit that he was being incredibly selfish. If that's the case, then you definitely need to stick to your guns. Show your daughter what it looks like to love yourself so that she can have strength and self-love in her future relationships. This next post was made in the advice subreddit by a user named TimeEb. The post is titled, "My boyfriend died and I found out he had a wife. So I had this amazing guy, we'll call him Jared. Jared was so different from anyone I've ever dated. He was 25 years old and about to celebrate a birthday later this month, right before Christmas. He was literally the sweetest guy. However, in the last couple of months, we began to fight all the time over little things. Tragically, Jared died Friday night while riding his motorcycle. My heart is broken. His brother texted me saying Jared had a roommate who calls herself Jared's wife, which he then mentioned to me he knew nothing about, even after being with him almost every single day. I feel so confused at this point and don't know what to think. I miss him as my friend, but this is just a lot of emotions. Is he married? Did I ever really know who he was? Update. I went to dinner with his brother. It turns out Jared was in fact leading multiple double lives. He was leaving a woman's apartment when he crashed and died. Not the so-called wife or roommate, but another woman who thought she was his girlfriend. His brother tells me the roommate is not his wife and is delusional. Jared told him he was using her for convenience. However, he did co-sign a 2019 Camaro for her and had multiple women. His brother flirted with me the entire time, even though I kept bringing the conversation back to Jared. He asked me if I would ever be with him. After I asked, wouldn't that be wrong? His brother said if Jared were here and didn't want to be with me, he would want us together. I'm not looking forward to the funeral. I miss who I thought Jared was, but definitely got my closure. His brother is an asshole. Edit, he didn't fake his death. A lot of comments keep saying that. His body was found and identified according to multiple news articles and his mother. User Albany Barbie Doll said, honestly, I'd probably spring for one of those online private detective services and have them do a public record search. If they aren't finding a marriage license, he's not married. And I don't mean to be insensitive, but are you sure he died? Not faked it to get out of having to break up with you or his wife? The whole thing is super sketchy. Is there any possibility the man you met is Jared's romantic partner? Just get some facts before you freak out. I'm sorry for whatever is going on. No matter what, your loss is real and I am sorry you are hurting. User Saggy Captain said, you don't need to know who someone was to grieve. Discovering things about them is a separate path to grieving. If questions about one prevent reconciliation of the other, then get the answers you need. His brother may be grieving as well, but asking if he was actually married and understanding the situation around that isn't intrusive, and I advise that you get that answer. Going off the information in your post, maybe he was still legally married and in the process of getting an amicable divorce, and he wanted to keep that space from you for fear that it would change the relationship. It's shitty but forgivable. It wouldn't mean that you didn't know him at all, just that there were things he didn't want to share with you yet. Regardless, I'm sorry for your loss. This next post was made in the relationship advice subreddit by a user named Opaque Scotch Tape. The post is titled, My boyfriend didn't buy me a boba. How do I explain to him that I feel like this is yet another sign in a pattern of being inconsiderate? Okay, so it's not just about boba. Let me preface it with that. It's a million little things and some much bigger ones. We moved in together 6 months ago. Things are normally chill, we get along and can hang out. However, I feel like he doesn't think of me. I ask him to do the dishes and he will leave them for 3 or 4 days, molding in the sink, until finally my roommate or I do it because it's nasty and has to be done. There are no forks. I will ask him over and over again and he just won't do it. I work from home and he works outside of the house. So I have more wiggle room to do chores, which means I do more of them. I figured he would compensate by pulling more weight in another area. For instance, he makes 3 times the salary that I do. But he wants me to pay 50-50 on our dates. That would be fine if I didn't buy and cook most of our at-home meals and also do the majority of the chores. That's not fair. That's not 50-50. He also doesn't pay any of my rent or bills. When I first brought this up to him, he didn't believe that I did that much for him. He thought we did equal chores and food buying. I had to start sending him literal receipts and have him compare each of our contributions. I also started sending him lists of things I did every day so that he would know what I had accomplished, and so I had records too. I thought maybe he really didn't know and perhaps he would change his attitude and pick up more slack in other areas, but nope. He still wants to go halfsies with money. He does do more chores now, but certainly not half. For example, he put laundry in the wash, but then asked me to do the folding, the most labor-intensive part of laundry. He will buy groceries and cook, but he makes maybe 1 meal for every 4 that I make. He also gets takeout for us at least once a week, which I know is more expensive, but that's the cost of not putting in the labor to cook it yourself, since I put my labor into my food, and he didn't, in my opinion. 1 meal of mine is equal to 1 meal of his. But he says since takeout costs more money, it counts as multiple home-cooked meals, which I don't think is fair. Anyways, I recently bought a lot of groceries. I cooked meals and he ate 5 of them. He also drank all of my bottle of alcohol as well as the sodas and juice I bought. Then he asked me out for boba the day after I cooked him dinner and after he finished off my alcohol. When we went out, he made me pay for my own boba. It was $6. And when he bought his own, he didn't tip. This man makes 6 figures. I'm feeding him with the food I bought using food stamps, and he invited me on a date and made me pay after eating my food and drinking my drinks. I don't know how to explain to him that him not paying for a boba pissed me off. I don't know how to explain why I feel like this is just another sign on the highway of consistent disrespect. Every time I try to explain this to him, his solution is to just stop doing things for each other. But in my opinion, that's not a partnership. That's a bad roommate who wants sex. My other roommate, who travels for work and has maybe been at home half the time my boyfriend has cleaned the kitchen more times than my boyfriend has, by a significant amount. On top of that, I had a break to grab coffee in between work sessions. I told him that I had 3 minutes before I had to go back. He chose right then to ask me why I was upset with him. I had just told him I have 3 minutes before returning to work. Why would he ask me a serious question and expect an answer right then? I just told him I'm on a time crunch. I feel like this kind of thing happens a lot. It's small, it's subtle, but it's also big. I just don't think he considers others. Edit, we live in a 3-bedroom apartment and we each pay for our respective rooms via splitwise. Yes, we each have our own rooms. I like my girly space and he snores. We split utilities evenly. I do not pay for his rent and he does not pay for mine. Even. Edit, I confronted him. He told me he never asked me to fold the laundry, that I just did that on my own. When I insisted he did say that, his reply was, well, that doesn't seem like something I'd do. Next, he said I'm trying to hurt him by implying he has an alcohol problem and that he, in fact, did take care of the dishes. So I showed him the dirty dishes just sitting there and he said, okay, if I didn't do it, I meant to. I do all these other things, but you're mad about the one thing I forgot. Y'all, I wish I was making this up. This is literal gaslighting, isn't it? I showed him the dirty dishes and he has the stomach to say if he didn't do it. After that, he started talking about how I've hurt him too before. And when I said we can talk about that after we address this, he refused to speak to me anymore. If anyone is looking for a roommate, I cook and clean. Update. I talked to him a big, long talk. Since then, he's been cooking or buying us food 3 to 4 times a week, not including breakfast or general groceries. He's been doing the laundry for both of us, doing a full cleanse of the kitchen, taking out the trash, and doing the dishes, all without being asked. He's been feeding the cats and deep cleaning their litter boxes without me asking. He's also started buying me my favorite snacks and drinks once a week, as well as planning at least one date per week. We went to a museum last week and he bought me souvenirs and ice cream. Today, he drove me to some ruins in a state park and bought us boba afterwards. I'll keep y'all updated on whether he keeps this up. User OK Homework said, you said it, he's a bad roommate who wants. To this, a deleted user said, your boyfriend, if you even want to call him that, is a inconsiderate man-child. I'm 38 years old and have been with my wife for 20 years. My wife makes more than I do and I pay for everything. He will not change. He is set in his ways, and if you want this for the rest of your life, it's your choice. If it were me, I'd leave him and find a real man who will treat you like the queen all women deserve to be treated. User Cloud of Bastard said, this guy sounds like a gold digger, but for labor and sex. Dump him. There's a clear pattern of inconsideration, and even when you point it out, he tries to diminish your work and emotions. A deleted user said, I mean, he told you what your options are. Either he does nothing for you and you do nothing for him, or you suck it up and pull more than half your weight. If he wanted to be a better partner, he would have done it already. There's no point in beating a dead horse by talking about it for the millionth time. There's obviously a third option. I'm not sure if you're fed up enough to take it yet, but you will be.